Okay, we're here to work with Penny Lane, who I've already made friends with, and I used a lot of positive reinforcement to help her feel comfortable with me. But in this video, I'm going to go over what her guest, we want her to practice meeting men, well, new people. She's more reactive to men than women, but she's reactive to both. And so in this video, I want to try to come up with a game plan that guests can come over to help Penny warm up with them a little bit faster. Now, Penny is in a kennel. We can't see it right now. We'll see it in a minute, but it's covered with a cloth, and that helps take away the sight, and that helps her settle down. Now, when guests come in, she's normally what the guardian's doing is leaving her in the kennel. Eventually, you'll be able to do this without the kennel, but we're going to use this as a tool to begin with. Now, the other dogs, I'd like to have the other dogs put away, and we'd like to have a guest come over, and the guest, it's very important the guest probably watches this video and listens to the guardian. She said, I already got friends that listen to that, but a lot of people when it comes to dogs, well, I'm going to do what I want to do. It's really important we go very slow and at Penny's pace, because any little misstep can really backfire and create a big problem that we have to undo. So we're going to have some interesting camera work where I turn around so I'm not backlit, but basically I'm going to show you how, and actually, for this one, actually, why don't you go ahead and just kind of go sit right over there, and we'll shoot from this angle. So the guest is going to come in, and you can grab a seat on this is going to be a couple minutes. And this is where Penny's at. So what I would normally do is have the guest come in and maybe sit here for a minute, especially if she's chirping and barking. If she's not, then we can do what what's called a conditioned emotional response. And this is what I did initially. So she can't see me here. So the first thing I did is I have these high value training treats. I'm going to leave the bag here. There's chicken liver. And all I did was I moved this close enough, and I don't want her to see me at first. All I want her to see is this treat. So I'm going to raise it up and then toss a treat in. Now be careful, if she's really nervous, she might nip the person. So it'd be better if they tossed it so it goes through. First couple times I tossed it, bounced right out, so just pick it back up, and then we put it back down. And so we're gonna do this like once or twice, so she's like, oh, this is one of those times where people lift up the cart and throw treats, and then that's fine, because it's creating positive association. I'm gonna do it from this corner so you can see. So I toss it in. Now I do that for 2 or 3 treats, and then the next time what I'm gonna do is I'm going to move it a little bit closer. I'm gonna raise it up. Actually, maybe I'll raise it up like this so she can see me, toss in a treat, and then close it. I want her just to see the person for a fraction of a second, and then I see the person, and then treats fall from the sky, and then I can't see anything. So we're creating a positive association with the person, even though she only sees the person for a second. So the person's not trying to talk to her, look at her, or any of those other things. So we're gonna do this about 3 or 4 times until she seems pretty relaxed. And then the next thing I was doing is I lifted up, and be careful when you're doing that big movement can also get her a little bit nervous. And if you lift it up and she's looking at you, she's not freaking out, the guest should avoid giving her direct eye contact. You can look and see, but if right now she's looking at the treats, move this a little bit to the side so you guys can see her, but she's looking more at the treats than looking at my face, which is great. That's what we want. So I can just toss a treat in, toss a treat in. And then what I want to do is I want to kind of offer one like this, and if I'm holding my fingers out. Now she could, and she has nips in people, but if we go slow and are cautious, we should avoid that. That's the whole point, is we don't want her to be reacting. We want her to be what we call sub-threshold. That one slipped off, I didn't want it. I want her to kind of stick her nose through, and I want her to come towards us as opposed to me going towards her. Now, the guest should not try to pet her, talk to her, or look at her. The idea is we want to kind of almost play a little bit of hard to get. Now, this sound, when I started to do this, she went to the back of the kennel. So if the guest reaches for that, she gets up and moves back. Don't just reach for it and then retract, toss another treat, let her come and get it. Then I jiggle a little bit more, treat, and keep on doing this. And eventually I get to the point where I opened it, or I unlocked it, but I didn't open it. Next thing I did was I opened it, and then I just offered a treat, and I wanted her to lean forward to get it. And if you notice, I'm leaving my hand here. Now, she's probably not going to do it now, but earlier she was coming and licking my hand a second time. There we go. So I take my hand away, and now again, I want her to practice approaching me and then being able to move away on her own volition so she feels confident. There we go. So she got that second touch. So you should get a second or third touch each time. And you see that lean that she's giving is an indicator that I'm not fully comfortable. Now I'm going to ask for one step out. Now she's already met me, so we're warmed up here. This took me about 15 minutes basically to get her to come out. And if she comes out and runs right back there, that's okay. Now resist the urge to pet her. The more that you engage with her when she's nervous, not only are we going to reinforce it, but we're going to reinforce her beliefs that I'm a threat. There we go, so she came out a second time. So I kept on doing this till eventually she came out all the way. Now, actually now that I think about it, it would be much better if the guest is not facing her like this, but instead is facing this direction. This is confrontational for a dog, sideways is approachable. So it's gonna be much better if the guest holds the treat like this, and you can see her out of the corner of your eye without direct eye contact, which is a challenge. So we're gonna keep on doing this until she comes out, and see how she's got kind of a lean. I call it looks like you're leaning off of a base, like you're gonna steal a base in baseball. You wanna keep on offering the treats until she comes out and she's not quivering. If she's quivering a little bit, that's okay. But there we go. See how her feet are underneath her? They're not like leaning out. And so now she feels more comfortable. Now the next stage, we'd like to have the guest eventually take her for a walk. The guardian's going to put a collar on her and use the martingale and do the special twist leash because we want to make sure she doesn't squirt away. And then basically, and if she wants to go back in there, that's totally fine. And then the whole point is we want to practice coming and going and feeling empowered to do so, so I don't feel like I'm confronted with the guest. Now, if the other dogs are here, they're going to create a little bit of rivalry for the treats, and also they might be barking, and it just creates more excitement. We want to give her every possible advantage. Now, when the person actually gets up to walk away, that's a time where she might want to nip. A lot of dogs will nip from behind because they're insecure, and when you give them your back, that's you're kind of vulnerable. So when I get up, I'm going to kind of precede it by before each movement, I'm going to set her up for it. So I'm going to go like this. Well, I'm going to try to throw it in there and then move my foot. And it's kind of a slower movement. She didn't find that one. This. And this will be interesting, so I'm going to have you get up and kind of walk over there if you could. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a treat, drop a treat, drop a treat, drop a treat, and drop a treat. Now if she comes, I'm going to go around, you can just stay right there. You're going to have your guest come around here. If she follows them, you can give them a whole bunch of little treats and she can just drop them. But I want her to think this person isn't just, let me move over here so I'm not backlit. This person isn't a threat. Why don't you grab actually, let's go ahead and grab a seat there. And then I'd like to have the guest come over here. And when they're moving, if you notice, I was kind of moving in a very fluid motion. I don't want sudden movements, that's going to really spook her. Almost like you're underwater, not slow motion, but very fluid. And then basically I want to have the guest sit here and wait for her to come. When she does, reach down and offer a treat. Now, I had to throw a bunch of treats on the floor, so I'm guessing this is not going to be something that's going to be achievable with the guest initially. Eventually it should, because this becomes a positive ritual that she likes. So let's say she's way over there. What I would do is, if she doesn't want to come, I would throw a treat halfway distance between me and her. And then a little bit closer and a little bit closer. And eventually, I tried this on my thigh, and it was too much for her. Now, the guest could also sit on the floor if your guest is comfortable doing that. And the guest could then just put a treat on the foot and let her come in and do that. What we'd like her to do is come up and start sniffing and be interested in the guest, and the guest needs to play hard to get. Don't look at her, and let people, all of that is going to backfire. We want her to be 100% in charge. Now you can also see her tail is tucked. And this is one thing I talked to a guardian about off camera, is anything your dog is doing when we pet it is what we're reinforcing, including unbalanced states of mind like fear and stress. So if I pet her right now, I'm going to amplify that. So the guardian needs to make a real, make sure she's not doing that. Now, if she keeps on going back to the kennel, then maybe when you're walking over there, then the guardian would come over and close the kennel. We like her having this as a sanctuary. But for this, we want her to practice meeting people in a good, positive way. Let's see if she figures that one out. There we go. And, all right, so and now we see your tail is very far tucked. So this would be a time where we maybe take a little bit of break. And the guest should try to avoid any loud movements, any sudden movements, anything that's going to startle her. Now, once we've gotten to the point where she sits or lies down somewhere, she's probably going to sit like way over there or way up on the couch or way in the back. Or, like I said, then we're going to take this away temporarily. And once she's sitting down relaxed, then what we would have the guardian do is, you're doing such a good job, sweetheart. Yes, I know we're buddies, but in this video, you're not supposed to be buddies yet. So the guardian is going to use this martingale, add the special twisted leash around the chest, and then the guardian and Penny and the guest are going to go down the stairs. We're going to go outside and down the driveway. We're not going to do in this video. And then basically the guardian is just going to, once you're going to take a couple, once you go past your driveway, we'd like to have guest, dog, guardian. So kind of like a sandwich with the dog in the middle. And eventually what we'd like to do is give the guest the leash and have the guest walk to the end of the block, cross the street, walk back here, and then come back in. When they come back in, I'd like them to hold the leash and not release the leash. Come all the way up here and sit down here, take the leash and step on the end of the leash here, and just lean back. We just want her to practice kind of being near the guest without anything bad happening. Now we go outside, there's a lot of distractions. And that's going to be helpful. And dogs also get over things by literally moving forward, which will also be helpful in her rehabilitation. Now, across the street, you had a couple of houses that had kind of like trees with some bricks and a circle around it. I actually sat down on a couple of those. And what I'd like the guest to do is do the same thing. Sit there, have some of these treats. Don't try to pet her. Don't try to engage with her. And on the walk, let her go and sniff anywhere she wants. Don't try to correct her. We just want to make sure she doesn't go in the street or do something dangerous. We want to create a positive association. And then basically you're going to stop at one or two of the houses across the street and sit on the stone. What we'd like, ideally, is her to sit down on her own. Not because of a sit. I don't think she would sit if you gave her a command. But when she sits, that's a good way of saying that she is comfortable. Now, if you're standing when you're out there, she's going to stay standing because that's an action position for dogs. When you sit down, they should sit down and just make sure they have their hand through the leash. And then basically just pull out their phone and check an email or two. Just wait about a minute or two. Give her a chance to see if she'll sit down. If she doesn't, then get up and walk a couple more houses and sit at the next one. If she doesn't sit there, that's okay. Then we're going to come back in. And again, when they come in, I'd like them to stand on the leash so that she has about 2 feet of leash. And they're not going to try to pat or anything. And we're going to have a little bit of conversation. Every once in a while, they can just throw a treat down on the ground. And if she licks it up, great. If she doesn't, that means she's too stressed and worked up. Now, if she is where the couch is, and I throw the treat halfway distance and she won't get it, then I throw another one the other way. So we're going to keep on getting closer and closer until she'll come and take them. A dog, just like us, if you just get mugged, you're not hungry or care what your hair looks like. So if we see her grooming herself, shaking it off, rubbing her back, or any of those things are going to tell us that she feels more comfortable. Now, also you can see her ears are very far back and she's kind of hunched over. That body language tells me she's very uncomfortable. And so again, if I were to try to pet her, that would spook her, send her away, and undo a lot of the work we're going to do. We might have a couple guests that come over and repeat this ritual 2 or 3 times without even touching her. We want to wait until she starts coming towards the guest, and then at that point, they're going to reach their hand down, let her take the treat off, and use a kissing sound as my affirmation. And again, sideways, let her lick it off, and always hold your hand and leave your hand there afterwards. And you'll usually get that second lick like that. And then if she wants to move away, great. So the idea is we want her to practice meeting new people with nothing bad happening. Matter of fact, some amazing things happening. Get all these treats. They don't try to touch me. They don't look at me. And we go for a walk to boot, and we come back and I get even more treats. I had these people wrong. They're not invaders. They're actually treat delivery people that I should be tipping instead of barking at and nipping. All right, Penny, come here, sweetheart. Sit. Can you sit for me? Sit. This is Penny, who I should mention this, is available for adoption. Her guardian it does a lot of great things for dogs, and so she's fostering Penny until we can find her a forever home. And she's a great little dog. She just needs somebody who understands her. I think she'd probably do better in a home where she doesn't have children. That's kind of a more mellow house, I think would probably be best. But and she gets along with other dogs. Sometimes she gets a little spats with the dogs from time to time. So it might be nice if she could be a single dog house, but this is not an adoption video, but if you're watching this, she is available. And if you're in Omaha looking for a little dog, she is a cutie. Penny, this is Penny Lane. These are some tips and tricks you can use if you have a dog that's fearful about meeting new people.